We are halfway there. We are living on a prayer, and that means we are also living on the spirits, figuratively speaking, of course, because this is Implicit Bias Radio. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon, and we are thrilled that you are joining us as we stand at the crossroads of faith, history, and the indomitable spirit of music. As the Bible tells us, music is a divine gift, a universal language that lifts the soul, and it actually binds generations. From the Psalms to the anthems of American culture, music, it's been our refuge, it's been our rebellion, and it's also been our redemption. In this episode, as we get ready for Implicit Birthday, with music from Effigy and Spank the Monkey, it dawned on us that there are a lot of parallels between the Bible's references to music and how music has shaped America's generations, with a little help from the lyrical musings of John Bon Jovi, of Skid Row, to Buffalo Springfield, the Beach Boys, the Doors, and only the good Lord knows who else. The Bible is actually alive with music. King David, the shepherd turned king, strummed his harp to soothe Saul's tormented soul. The Psalms, his legacy, are basically a playlist of praise, lament, and hope, urging us to sing a new song unto the Lord. Music in Scripture isn't just background noise. It's actually a weapon. It's a weapon against despair, a bridge to the divine, a prayer in and unto itself. Miriam led the Israelites in song after crossing the Red Sea, and Paul and Silas sang hymns in prison, shaking the foundations of their chains. Music was freedom. Music was faith. Music is fire. Now, think about America from basically the 40s and 50s till today, where music has been the heartbeat of basically every generation, echoing the Bible's call to make a joyful noise. Each era has its anthem, its fight song, and it's really set the tone for the zeitgeist of each generation. Let's start with the greatest generation. Forged in the fires of the Great Depression and World War II, they swayed to the big band swing. Glenn Miller's In the Mood, lifting spirits in dance halls, kind of like David's harp. The music was a balm, a reminder that even in darkness, old Blue Eyes could still burn bright. These folks built America's backbone, and their music preached resilience, much like the Psalms call us to trust in God's deliverance. Then came the baby boomers, the rebels of the 60s and 70s, who turned music into a full-on revolution. Bob Dylan's Blowin' in the Wind and Woodstock's Muddy Fields incited protest, questioning war and injustice. Rock and roll, from Elvis to Hendrix, was their battle cry, and it was a refusal to accept the status quo. For what it's worth, they were California dreaming and looking for someone to light their fire. The Bible's trumpets at Jericho found their echo in the electric guitars that tore down the walls of segregation and conformity. Boomers used music to preach protest, praise, just as Scripture commands us to sing unto the Lord with thanksgiving. Gen X, the latchkey kids of the 80s and 90s, we found our voice in grunge and hip-hop. Nirvana's raw wails and Public Enemy's fierce rhymes were the psalms of our lament, grappling with delusionment, a fractured world, kind of like Paul and Silas singing in their chains. We turned pain into power. We were simply looking for our even flow because we were treated kind of like a man in a box. The music, raw, real. It mirrored the Bible's call to clap your hands, all ye people, a defiant celebration of survival. Millennials and Gen Z, this is where music runs into a problem. Music before that was great. But for their generations, it stopped being overtly original. It became more manufactured, less authentic, more auto-tune, more production, more sampling. For lack of a better word, more fake, plastic, soulless, corporate, and institutional. Beyoncé left real music behind for the theater which created the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, 98 Degrees, Boyzone, and countless others, which begat the Biebs, and then maybe the worst of all, the Tay-Tay. what's the point? Even if the music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and even the 90s before the death of rock and roll were manufactured, it was real. It had testosterone. It had soul. That is why music sets the rhythm for the hearts of generations. That's why rock had to die. That's why today's generation of young men is bringing it back. The muse of the 2020s, it wants to bang its head. It wants to ruin its voice. It wants to rock its heart out. Music in the Bible, music in America, it's more than a sound. It's spirit. It's David's harp, Miriam's tambourine, Paul's prison hymns. It's swing, the Rat Pack, hair metal, grunge, it's rock and roll. Each generation's sound defined its fight, its faith, and therefore its future. Just as Scripture's songs have carried God's people through exile and triumph, music is our baseline. It's our percussion. It's our beat. We'll fuel it this week on Implicit Bias Radio with a weekly whiskey from New News Market, a pick of the Senator's 6-year rye. The crew is together. We got all tuned up to solve the problems of the world, and we mean that in every way, shape, or form. So get ready to join the jam session that is Implicit Bias Radio. Oh, how sweet it is to hear the wonderful tunes of weekly whiskey on Implicit Bias Radio. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. We've got a live crew, and I don't mean like a live crew like we're actually live on the radio right now. I mean just like live like they're active. Not like two live crew like we grew up with in the 90s, although sometimes if you listen to them, they do get that foul. We won't do that on the radio. That is where you find bonus content. Go to your podcast, wherever you get Implicit Bias Radio on podcast. You can subscribe. You can help support the show. You can be a patron saint of Implicit Bias Radio, and you'll get the uncut, unfiltered, uncensored, unhinged bonus content from Implicit Bias Radio. But right now, the crew's going to kill me if we don't get to some whiskey. So let's introduce who's here. Let's start in the chair, much like mine. He's apparently already savoring his weekly whiskey, maybe a little too much. He's doing his best to channel his inner Sam Stokes. Rest in peace. He's Caleb Morse, who decided to... Wait. Oh, you went full on like
the
Instagram.
Sam Stokes is because of the outfit.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. You went full on like Stitch Fix, like bad guy clothes.
I sat
bad
down,
young guy clothes.
I had a discussion with my 15-year-old, and he's like, "Dad, we got to fix your fit." And I was like, "My fit? When you have to go to the gym more often?" And he was like, "No, like your clothes." I'm like, "Oh, my outfit, my ensemble." He's like, "Yeah." So this is what we agreed upon. You know, I bought some other clothes too, and look, the kids got style. I'll give them that. So.
Nice to know that in your skinny pants and your schmedium t-shirt that your son is now outfitting that. I'm glad to see that. Right. All right. That is the Rustic Renegade. Let's go to the bar. The Mr. Lester's TSPL is proud to feature twins for the first time on Implicit Bias Radio. We didn't plan it this way. I didn't even realize when I was putting the list together of who was going to be on the show this week. And by the way, if you need to see why we're calling them twins, find us on Instagram, YouTube, X, Facebook. You will see why the numismatist and the consigliere look way too much alike. We're going to start with the consigliere. Chris Castro at the bar. Good to have you back, Chris.
Good evening. Great to be back.
You got to grab that microphone, brother. You're killing me.
Good evening. Great to be back.
Got a great whiskey for you this week. It's low proof.
Yeah.
I promise.
Well, yeah, that's what I think I heard. And I have to say, I took a little sip and we got a little kick to it, a little fire in there.
Oh, and I like this one a lot. The person sitting next to you, the numismatist, Louis Pizzolatto. Louis, we're going to be careful with this one, right?
Well, I actually got dropped off by my wife, so I'm not as fearful about having to have you haul me home.
Oh, hey, well, I'm just worried that meant you pre-gamed. Did you please tell me you didn't pre-game before you got here?
No,
okay.
I was on water, and
yeah,
I think I'm ready to go.
That works. We're ready for you to go. We've got some topics that you are going to be part and parcel to here because of your experience with coin and treasure. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge for the Monty Python fans out there. All right. At the production table, we don't have a camera on him, and I'm glad we don't because I think he's a little excited that Caleb is dressed a little metro here in the TSPL. Walker Griffon. What Walker? See, I'm right. This is how you know he's laughing a little too hard. And I'm going to leave that alone. All right, let's dive into our weekly whiskey here as we get set. This is the week before Implicit Birthday where we are planning to have, God, it's going to be over like 50 whiskeys that will probably be there to try from about 18 to 20 different distilleries. I mean, we've got lots of names coming in. We've got lots of whiskey. So we had to have what I was hoping and was told was going to be an absolute headbanger here in the TSPL this week. The last time that New News Market in Lafayette, Youngsville, Scott, Milton, Maurice did a pick of the Senator, a proof and wood product. The Senator, a 6-year rye. The last time they did this, an off the charts blue. Just one of those whiskeys that you went, man, it is so special. It is, and I think we're going to create a new hashtag here. The hashtag is BTB, which is for those of you out there who always walk in and you walk into the store and you're like, man, y'all got any of that Blanton's? Don't. There are a lot of whiskeys out there. And look, we like Blanton's. It's good stuff. But there's a lot of stuff that is just better than Blanton's. BTB. Right. I got a feeling this might hit us there and get us there on the Morse Whiskey Rating Code. So let's start at the bar, where the guys who are drinking at the bar, y'all don't drink a ton of high proof stuff, right? Normally the stuff you drink is going to be a little lower proof. This one, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1, 2, 4, 3. 124.3 on the proof. Who wants to go first with kind of your thoughts on this 6-year rye out of Proof and Wood?
I'll go ahead and start on this end. Very, very nice. Peppery, and first sip at 124.3. I'm typically not that high. Maybe I do like in excess of 100, but 124 is really outside of my typical range. Pretty color, deep caramel, I don't know what to say, but deep brown. But
yeah.
And with legs, so it's got some body to it. But definitely has that pepper, man. That first taste was like, whoa, hello. the kind of pepper that clears your sinuses.
It gives you that warmth in the chest.
Right.
And that's what I like about this. It gives you the warmth in the chest, doesn't grab you in the throat, which is a little different from a lot of whiskeys that are out there. Higher content of proof, higher alcohol content will give you warmth in the chest, not necessarily the throat. Right. They can if you drink it completely wrong, which is inhale while you're sipping. I mean, that's going to pull all the vapors back down into your throat. That doesn't feel real good.
Right. And I think that's what happened to me because I went for the full flavor, and that full flavor by drawing that air in caused me to have like a clear sinus immediately afterwards. But I'll tell you, the follow-up sip got a little better. And then the follow-up sip after that starts to mellow out, and it gets to be very, very smooth. So you can feel the heat, but definitely an excellent tasting beverage, I have to say.
Consigliere, I think you're onto something here about this being a whiskey that every sip you take just gets better and better and better. Not every breath you take, but every sip you take, right? Lewis, what you thinking over there? The numismatist.
Hot.
Okay, a little hot. I get it.
That's normally not my wheelhouse, but I think for a rye, I know that's Caleb's wheelhouse, not necessarily mine. I think for a rye, I like it. It's not my first choice, but I can drink it. I enjoy it. I agree that it does get better with sip after sip. I don't know where I'd be after glass, but I know sip after sip, it's pretty darn good.
Okay, so the flavor on it, you like the flavors, you like what you're getting on the back end, because I find this has a really long finish. It's oily. When Chris said it's got body, it's got legs, it's viscous. It's a little, it's as Yancey Wade would say, girl, it's thick like a bowl of oatmeal, right? I mean, it is thick in all the right places.
I agree. I mean, everything y'all are saying about it, I agree. It's, and I shouldn't worry about the first couple of sips. You should feel how it carries on. The first couple of sips were bold. That's the best I can say. But it did thin out, made me feel better about it. And I'm 2/3 into the glass right now.
Uh-oh. It's early. Hey, that's going to be a fun night. Hour 2, always more fun on Implicit Bias Radio. Let's go to Walker at the table, because Walker has leaned into, basically, he's gotten to that point where if it's whiskey, he likes it lately. And I'm curious to see if this is any different from any of the other whiskeys that he's had.
This one's one of my favorites. I've bought this before, drank this before. I can't remember if this was the one or the representative was the one I drank that one episode. But
that was the representative.
I couldn't remember. But I do have that one at my house. This is one of my favorite whiskeys that we've done on the show.
And this specifically is a New News pick of the Senator. You can't get this anywhere else, which is, if you like whiskey, you're in for a bottle, this is the one to go get that you can only get at New News because it does. It's got a special place in my heart. It's got everything that a real whiskey drinker looks for. And even if you're kind of new to it, this is one of those ones that can convince you, man, I can drink high proof. I do get great flavor. And high proof isn't just, as Mike Trammell would say, donkey whiskey. It's not just there to kick you in the rear end. It's also there to enjoy great flavors over time. So that brings us to the most esoteric review of any whiskey you will ever get. And it comes from the Rustic Renegade.
It can get worse. I can be more loquacious.
I didn't say it was worse. I said it was esoteric. That's all I said.
Valid. So on the nose, I get cola immediately on the nose, followed by nutmeg.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
And lemon zest.
I didn't get a ton of lemon.
I get lemon zest at the tail end of it.
Okay.
And I was nose humping the snot out of this glass. Then on the palate, flat Coca-Cola. Like definitely Coca-Cola, flat Coca-Cola. Pecan pie crust. Just the crust. Whenever it's that kind of cooked pecans and graham cracker in it, I get the crust of the pie, not the pie itself. Then I get COA's Cherry Bomb Cherry Pipe Tobacco. Because it's got a heavy cherry flavor.
Okay,
that
I
kind
can
of
see that.
limits itself out. You don't get the over sweetness. You get that almost Luxardo cherry, the deep cherry flavor, not overly sweetened. Followed by dill.
Dill.
Not
dill.
Like dill, not dill pickle.
Are you kidding
not
me?
Not dill pickle, dill. If you make your own pickles and you
don't.
buy fresh dill.
I'm not into pickles nearly as much as you are, Caleb. So, I just don't know. Dill I do not get here.
Yes, you do.
Dill I do not get. I will say this. I get the cola. I get the cherry. I get the pecan. I almost get, and this is the only way I can explain it. My wife, when she hears this, will know more than I do, and it's going to make her jealous. Her grandmother would never make a pecan pie without burning the top.
Yes, it has to have that little bit of the grinnies, a little bit of crust.
That I get a little bit of burnt pecan pie top. So that sugar, that burnt, you get it?
I'm getting it.
And here's what I get.
Wonderful.
I have to tell you, I just don't have his palate. I don't have his palate. It's just that all the flavors that he's talking about, but as he speaks
it's not his palate. It's just his ability to make up.
Well,
you drink enough whiskey and you start to notice things.
But I think that all the things he's talking about, really, the Coke and that pecan pie that you're talking about, like you're saying, when that burns sugar just a little bit.
Yep. So here's the other thing that I get off of this. And this is, I think my palate is kind of leans to this, right? It's predicated to it, which is I get a little hint of licorice on this. And it's a hint of a thought of licorice because I hate licorice, but it's
Very
just
minuscule.
enough to be that almost wormwood or absinthe.
And see that? You know what that's known as?
No.
Dill.
I thought that was bull.
Yeah,
That's what I thought that was. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to rate this on the Morse Whiskey Rating Code, and we're going to play What Would You Pay, right? So the Morse Whiskey Rating Code, for those who are new to the show, the uninitiated, if you are listening in New Orleans, if you're listening in Monroe, if you are listening in any of the 1,000+ cities where we have been downloaded on podcast, if you are catching us on Instagram, the Morse Whiskey Rating Code is this. It is red. I would not drink this even if it was free. Yellow. I would only drink this if this was free. Green. I would buy this. Blue. I would seek this out. This is special in the whiskey world. So let's start at the bar. And while we're doing that, we might as well play What Would You Pay for this bottle? It's not Price is Right. If someone goes over, they're out. It's closest to the whole. So it's Happy Gilmore. Okay? Who wants to go at the bar first? Where would you rate this on the Morse Whiskey Rating Code? Red, yellow, green, or blue? And what would you pay?
I would rate that as a green.
Okay.
And I would pay 65.
$65, and you would rate this as a green. So a green and 65. Lewis.
Same rating, green, but I'd go to 100.
Oh, go to a C note. Impressive. Walker.
Blue, 85.
Blue and 85. Caleb.
I was sitting here trying to figure it out. And then it dawned on me that every time I see a bottle of the representative and the senator,
You buy it.
I buy one. So it's a blue. Like for me, this is a blue because every single time, and if I see someone's store pick, I'm like, I haven't had that one yet. So it's a blue for me. I know what it costs normally. And Lewis, you took my number. I'm going to go $90.
$90. So we've got 85, 90.
65,
Well, 65,
85,
85, 90, and 100.
100.
Okay, so we've got 2 greens, 2 blues so far.
Drum roll.
This new news senator, I'm like you, Caleb. I love this senator. I love the representative. This senator is a special version of the senator. This is unique. This is not something you're going to find on every shelf where you can buy the senator anywhere, whether it's in Louisiana or it's nationally. This is, without a doubt, this is a blue. It is that special. It is definitely #BTB, better than Bland's. No doubt. Now, for the What Would You Pay Championship Belt Chain, presented by Box Trop of Lafayette. This bottle at New News in Youngsville, Scott, Milton Maurice, is $74.99. Which means that we've got to kind of split this and see there's 64, there's 85. Everybody was over. Chris, you are the winner.
Yeah.
You are the winner by basically bidding $1, Bob, and getting, because you're a cheapskate, a bottle of whiskey that is absolutely fantastic. So you get to wear the What Would You Pay Championship Belt Chain presented by Box Trop of Lafayette
Yeah, baby.
on what is a really special bottle of whiskey. And guess what else is really special? We're going to have a really special guest when we come back. As we get set for Implicit Birthday, go to our website, implicitbiasradio.com. Go to Rock and Bowl's website. You can find tickets for Acadiana's first whiskey tasting event. We're going to benefit the Acadiana Veteran Alliance, St. Michael's Shelter for Homeless Veterans, which is also part of Catholic Charities of Acadiana, and the Evangeline Council Scouting Group. Great charities involved, great event, expecting over 50 different whiskeys to taste. And we're going to have a member of the band who's playing the event, headlining the event, when we come back right here on Implicit Bias Radio. Welcome back to Implicit Bias Radio. We've got a special guest on this episode sitting at the bar here in the Mr. Lester's top secret podcast lair, where, by the way, you can probably still catch, $25 flights of Four-Gate, $15 Sinatra Old Fashions at Mr. Lester's for maybe a couple of days. They might rotate it, but I guarantee if you ask for it, they'll probably honor it. Because that's what Mr. Lester's does.
I still can't believe it. Like, it's personally offensive to do a Sinatra Old Fashioned. Then it's offensive to do it for $15. Like,
Yeah.
look, just tell them to hold the rest of the stuff and drink the Sinatra.
Too much stuff, too good. Too much stuff, too good. But hey, if that's what you like, that's what you like.
You
And
can
that's
be
all
wrong,
that matters.
And Willie's going to give it to you at a smoking price.
Okay, so let's introduce you to a new guest here in the Mr. Lester's TSPL. We told you about our whiskey tasting event coming up, and I'm going to give you just some of the brands that will be represented at Implicit Birthday. Four Roses will be represented. Penelope will be represented. Redemption will be represented. Bibb and Tucker will be represented. Redwood Empire will be represented. Blacklands will be represented. Cajun's Cut and JT Mellick will be there. We are expecting all kinds of people. Proof and Wood will be there. Crittenden's. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. It's going to be a fantastic event. And we said we're raising money for great charities, right? St. Michael's Shelter, which is benefited by AVA and Catholic Charities of Acadiana. Evangeline Council Scouting. And here's what your ticket gets you. Your ticket gets you in. It gets you your whiskey tastings. It gets you food for the night from Rock and Bowl. It gets you a cigar if you want it. It gets you your own whiskey tasting glass. And it gets you cover for live music by not one, but 2 bands. Effigy will open up the night. They are going to take the stage at 8. I'm told their set runs about an hour. And then we will get the headliner on, which is where I get to introduce you to a very special guest here on Implicit Bias Radio. Welcome in Joe Gary of Spank the Monkey. Love to have you in here. It's fantastic that you made it.
Oh, I'm glad you have me here. I'm excited to be here. I'm an avid listener of the show. Me and my wife, we listen all the time, and I'm just happy to be here.
We appreciate you being here because it was such a great pairing last year when you guys played the event. And we actually, when we were in the discussions with Rock and Bowl about who was going to play, we made the request because we caught you guys during Mardi Gras in 24, not Mardi Gras 25. And we said, man, that's just, the music set is too good for what you guys play. And it fits pretty much the core listenership of the show all too well, because y'all are like us. Y'all are Gen X. Y'all are players of the 90s, correct?
Correct. We started in 95. We're 30 years old. 30. Yeah, we just turned 30 years old this past year. We'll be 31 in February of this year. Our first gig was in 95 on the Strip.
Okay, so this is completely just blowing my mind here. I moved to Lafayette in December of 96. So y'all had been together a little over a year when I got here. And I remember when I got here, y'all were already a thing. I mean, 1 year and y'all were a big thing. And Heath actually says it when y'all are getting ready to play it on stage, almost like massive 90s, because Sweet Daisy was really close to making y'all household names across the country, correct?
Correct. We just made some bad business decisions on bad advice from a lawyer that we had consulted. That I used to live in LA, and I had a couple of bands I was in. I was just a drummer, but they had record deals. And we, when Sweet Daisy blew up, we were kind of taken by surprise, and we weren't prepared for what was coming. So I reached out to the lawyer that I had worked with through Geffen Records. He said, I'll fly to New York and see what's going to happen. He called us back and said, hey, man, they're going to make you guys a one-hit wonder. Well, we really only had the one song at the time. We had a full record, but that song was, they had beta tested, and Wind Up was interested in the song. And they were going to put us on the road with Krewe. Well, this attorney was working for 20% of the deal. So he was trying to work a deal from the past.
Yep.
7-album deal, $250,000, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, so he was like, turn the deal down. So as soon as we turned it down, it just kind of red flagged, because the modern world we live in today, it's one song, they release it, they spin it, just kind of like you talked about. They don't invest in bands anymore. So you don't see real bands anymore. They just can't exist. It's just no way.
And the crazy part is, kind of like we said in the monologue, and this traces, like we said, all the way back to the Bible. Music in and of itself, if you think about what music in the Bible is a prayer. That's really what it is.
Celebration.
It is. Yep. It is a celebration. So if you think about some of the music that we have gotten lately and the prayers that we have been saying lately, if you extrapolate that logically, it's not pretty.
No, it's all, but it's the victim of marketing and how things are done today. Like, there's a lot of great music on the internet, like young bands, but it's so much of it, it's swamped, right? So you don't have arena rock anymore, where record companies aren't going to invest a bunch of money. Bands like Foreigner and Styx and Journey back in the days, they were 3 albums in before they had one hit, and the record company was spending money helping them develop who they're going to be. Now you have one shot with one song, it get released, they burn it up, and then it goes away. And then the band tries to tour it for a while to see what happens. Like for us, we were just kind of caught in the middle. I'm a little bit older than the other guys in Spank. I turned 61 this year. And so I'm just thinking a different kind of thought process. But the last record company we talked to, we were opening it up for Louisiana LaRue. I don't know if you remember those guys. Yeah. And when Leon Medical was alive, he's going, man, you guys are way too, who's your record company? And I was like, we don't have one. He goes, you're kidding. He goes, you mind if I shop you? And I said, knock yourself out. We've been turned down by everybody 5 times by this time. So he called Sony Records. One of the representatives from Sony's called me. He was an older gentleman, and he says, here's the problem. You guys don't fit in a box. We already have marketing for different kinds of music. If you don't fit in one of these marketing plans, then we're not going to develop one just for your band, or your song. You're all over the place on the map. You're too diverse. They basically want you to play the same 3 chords, sing about the same thing, same tempo, and then that way they can market the song.
And what's really interesting here, and I know other people want to jump in, I just can't let this thought go away. Joe, what I'm hearing you tell me is this. They want the same 3 chords. They want the same marketability. In other words, the prayer of the music that we are hearing today is a prayer to the worst God of all. It's a prayer straight to money.
Absolutely, 100%. Easiest way to make money for them. Now, it's not all their fault, as I say record companies, because they had to because of technology. The way we, the consumers, started listening to music is so different now. When Spank first started and we could sell our records, say if you wanted Sweet Daisy, you had to buy the CD.
Yep.
So we got credit for all the music, all the songs. So it was either, now you just, I'll be honest with you, we get every quarter about a check for $20, for people who stream it. Like you get a couple of cents per. So it's why you pay $400 for a ticket to go see a band, because that's how they make their money. Now, it used to be you toured. When I was a kid, I'd pay $8 and I saw REO Speedwagon, Journey, and 3 major at Blackman Coliseum. Now the bands have to make money this way through merch and gigging. And even merch, you have to give up some of your merch to wherever you're playing. Like
Yeah.
they get a percentage of it. So it's just the way we listen to music changed the way record companies had to adjust because they were losing their, I don't know if I say it. Anyway, they were just losing it.
They were losing their rear end. Yeah.
And so they had
By the
to,
way, just so you know, an ass is another word for a donkey. It's fine.
well, they were losing their donkeys in a bad way. So they were, they had enough money to make adjustments and Spank kind of got caught in the middle of all that. We weren't even supposed to be a serious band. I mean, who names their band Spank the Monkey if they're going to be, a serious band? You just don't do that, And it's like, my grandmother asked me, "What's the Spank the Monkey mean?" I said,
Yeah, you don't want to
She
explain that
knew,
to grandma.
she just wanted you to explain
"No."
it.
Well, I said, "Hey, we have a monkey and his name's Spank, and he goes out on the road with us."
Well, and like the beauty about what y'all is, I remember seeing y'all on the strip and everything else back in the day. And to me, music is emotion.
Yeah.
Right. Like if I'm planning a road trip or something else, like I want to set my vibe, and I'll sit down and go through and I'll plan a playlist. I still do that. Drives my wife nuts. But you could buy y'all's album and have the emotional gamut throughout the entire thing, as opposed to now where you just put it on one of your streaming services, hit play, and it tells you what you should feel.
That's it's like it's even the live shows for us. Like we're the last of our kind locally, where we don't run tracks. It's unpredictable. Our singer partakes in drinking, so you just you're not 100% sure what you're going to get from night to night. And my job is to keep everything moving in. Like behind the drums, I got to kind of play. I'm not gonna lie, we've been fired from a few casinos because we broke the rules.
Good for you.
Like just a little.
Have fun. Enjoy what you do.
And you know what our singer, what he says at the, after we get fired, he goes, "I didn't like that gig anyway."
And to me, the funny part is, so my son Connor, who plays drums for Effigy, he's actually here, part of the live studio audience for Implicit Bias this week. We went to go see a few years ago, big show in Houston, Joan Jett, Poison, Krewe, and Def Leppard. And the one thing that I gave Motley Crue for credit for is this. You absolutely know that Vince Neil is not using a vocal track. Trust me. You absolutely know. If he was, or if he is, and that's the track he's using, something's wrong. Because he does not sound like he used to on the records, obviously. He's can't hit all the notes anymore, which as you do that over time to your voice, your voice isn't meant to do those things. I give him credit for that. But to that point, I know that they use tracks. It makes me wonder about Def Leppard because they were so flawless.
100% they use tracks, Def Leppard.
There you go.
No doubt. Most bands do. Now they run a click, if anything, for the light show. So if the drummer in his in-ears is going to hit the click, and it keeps the whole show, bigger bands, because there's no room for error, right? If you're in a big, there's so many things now that, you're just not plugging in and playing. Arena shows are a little bit different these days. So they have to eliminate all the possibilities that could go wrong.
Yeah.
So there you have it,
I still like the unpredictability.
I want real. I want real. I want raw.
100%.
I want it to mean something.
100%. Like if you come see us, like we were playing the other night and our bass player decided he's going to jump on my riser. He tried the first time and didn't quite make it and went backwards.
Uh-oh.
3 songs later, he tried again. He went head first off the back of the end because he's a 50-something-year-old man now.
Not a spring chicken anymore.
How many vertebrae does he need to have readjusted?
He said he's fine, but
Well, he better be, because on July 12th, we've got Implicit Birthday, and we're looking forward to you guys being there.
Well, we have 2 of them, so we're good.
Okay, there you go. There you go. No, look, it's a pleasure. Hopefully you guys enjoyed playing Implicit Birthday last year at Rock and Bowl.
We did, and actually, when he called me, I said, absolutely. We had a date, and I canceled it because I said, I absolutely want to do this. Because it's just, like I said, I listen to the show, and I'm pretty fall in line. All the guys in the band fall in line with pretty much how y'all political beliefs, and everything else.
Well, we just believe in truth.
True.
Right? I mean, truth and logical. That's all we ask for. Be logical and be real.
Well, yeah, you're asking for a lot in this world. Logic is just not part of it.
Well, you know what? That's why we do what we do, because I may end up going down in this fight, but guess what? I'm not going down without a fight. And that's what this is all about.
I think you're going to win in the end, because there's a lot of people that are, like most of us have a lot to lose to speak up. It's like myself. I got to live in two worlds constantly. So for me to go off on social media would destroy half my customer base. So it's like with the band, we usually kind of stay out of it. I had to convince Heath to get off of social media because it was causing me problems. So we pretty much, it's like people understand my belief system, and I just don't throw it in their face, and we're good.
Hey, the Let's Go Brandon stickers on the instruments would not give anything away. I'm just saying. Right.
We got fired from, and it is what it is, and it's like sometimes I wish I could go all in. I think, like Ted Nugent does, that would be, but he's Ted Nugent.
The Nuge goes hard, yes.
Yeah, he makes 30,000 a show, not 3,000 a show. So there you go. Oh, more than 30, I'm sure.
Oh,
but,
I'm sure.
But it's
He also
like,
carries a gun in the Capitol, so.
oh yeah.
All right, so we need to take a break here. Walker's giving me the finger from the corner. No, it's the 1 minute finger for the initiated, not that finger. And thank God it's not the other finger because he's wearing those shorts again. We are going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to have more Implicit Bias Radio. We're going to solve some of the problems of the world as we get into what's maybe squeezing things right now on Implicit Bias Radio. Final segment, hour one, this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. We are having more fun than legally should be allowed somewhere in downtown Lafayette, Louisiana. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. We've got the rustic renegade, Caleb Morse, here in the Mr. Lester's TSPL. We've got Chris Castro. We've got... What's your name? I'm kidding. We've got Louis Pizzolatto, the numismatist, on the show. He was very quiet last segment, didn't want to get involved in the conversation. Louis, you're going to have to belly up to the bar. You're going to have to get close, and then you're going to have to grab that microphone when it's time because we are going to talk like we were talking music. We're going to talk about other things that are real that people are trying to manipulate. So if you caught the last segment with Joe Gary, drummer for Spank the Monkey, who will play Implicit Birthday July 12th at Rockin' Bowl, we were talking about how music, unfortunately, has become less real and more fake. Well, if you're thinking what has also become less real and more fake, look no further than your wallet. It's that simple. Our money, it's not worth anything. Let's be brutally honest. It is worth a promise from the U.S. government that the credit of the government is worth it. And it's really not even that. It's that the Fed says, yeah, at some point we'll redeem something for it. And right now it's a unit of exchange. And it is a unit of exchange that has lost over 10% of its value in 2025, according to a lot of studies. Please don't believe us on this. Go look this up. You can find this. Go use AI to search it. How much has the dollar lost in value in 2025? And it's double digits. It is scary as all get out. Now, that being said, what has not lost its value is something that the numismatist deals in regularly. And we were having a discussion here right before the show about the precious metal market and what's going on there. So I bought some silver 6-8 months ago. I'm up 10% on the silver that I bought. I took physical delivery of that silver, but I'm up 10%. I bought gold, 12, 13 months ago. That is up over 60%, closer to 75%. Louis, the heck is going on with gold and silver?
The short squeezes are being squeezed out of it. That's one of the things.
Okay, so let's start with, what do you mean the short squeeze? You mean people are selling silver at a low price to try and bet that it's going to go down?
No, people are selling paper at a low price, mainly to hold it down. But eventually they have to ante up. So they're starting to back out of these short squeezes because they're hemorrhaging money. And the silver to cover those short squeezes doesn't exist. The gold to cover it doesn't exist. The platinum was really caught in a short squeeze. Platinum's up 40%.
In like 3 days, right?
Well, I'm going to call it 30 days.
Okay. Oh, gee. Only make 40% on your money in 30 days.
It is blown up in their face, and they don't quite know exactly how to handle it. So the easy way to handle it is pay the price, back out, and now people are demanding delivery. And there's been rules changed. They want more money up front to hold these contracts open, which is forcing them to back out even faster. Platinum just had a raise on which you have to put up money forward.
Okay.
Silver has had it. Gold has had it months ago. It's a nasty market for commodities all around.
Unless you are buying and taking delivery and sitting on it.
That is the key to the whole thing. People are not just wanting to play paper back and forth of product that does not exist. They want physical delivery, and it's not pretty. I mean, in the markets.
Okay, so hold on. Not pretty is in the eye of the beholder, right?
If you're holding, it's pretty.
I mean, I'm looking at like The View. I'm sure there's somebody who thinks that's pretty. I don't.
No one thinks that's pretty.
I think no one. I'm with Caleb. I can't.
No, somebody thinks. I'm telling you, there's a troll in some parent's basement somewhere that thinks that's attractive. And if that's what you like, that's what you like. It ain't my.
How
ain't my
dare
thing.
you bring Helen Keller into this? Right
I thought you were going to say Ellen DeGeneres there for a second.
no.
And I was like, no, she's out of the country, right? But she might. Anyway, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But to that point, that means that silver's way undervalued. That to me is the point here, is that silver, I saw something on ratios and where silver typically is with regards to gold, saying that silver should be like, what, a 9-to-1 or something like that.
Well, and that's an old time historical number. But but the reality is, at the very least, it should be 48-to-1. Well, if you do the numbers right now,
Oh, dear Lord.
48-to-1,
I'll take that.
we're almost in the low 90s right now.
So
that-
silver should be $75 to $80 an ounce?
It should be based on a conservative historical ratio.
By the way, this is not financial advice.
No, I'm not giving any
Nope.
advice.
We're not
every
giving
time-
advice. We're just saying.
No, I mean, but sometimes it's good to ask people that you know.
And it may not be financial advice; it's practical advice.
Hold on. Yeah. And Chris, you can grab the microphone. I mean, you can chime in.
One of the interesting things that I mentioned, I think maybe the last time I was on the show, that, you know, I'm one of the older guys, if not the oldest guy in this room. But in 1971, I was old enough to be aware of what was going on, and a dollar was a dollar. If you use that same dollar buying power today, and let's pick on New News, let's pick on Rouse's, let's pick
Anywhere you
on
go.
anywhere you
Anywhere you
go.
go.
Anywhere that takes
This is
paper
not
money.
about the store. This is about the dollar.
It's 3 cents now.
Yeah.
I'd believe that.
That is the reality of it. It's buying power.
We've gone down the rabbit hole of buying power and wages and where wages were. In 1971, I believe minimum wage was $1.81 an hour. A 40-hour week was like $76 a week. Gold was $44 an ounce. So literally, your weekly salary, if you were working for minimum wage in 1971 and you worked 40 hours a week, was 1.7 roughly ounces of gold, which today would be just under $6,000 a week. Think about that.
That's $300K a year,
Yep.
and that's a minimum wage job.
In other words-
That's how it works out.
So when we say that music maybe isn't as real as it used to be, our dollars are not nearly as real as they used to be. But here's the question I have, and I don't even know if you can answer this one, because this to me is where we go thermonuclear, which is on July 1st, a new asset allocation was rolled out to financial institutions in the United States. Basel III allowed gold and silver, or gold specifically, to be utilized as a tier 1 asset on a balance sheet. In other words, banks can start hoarding gold. Correct?
Correct. And that is monumental.
What does that mean moving forward? I mean, thoughts?
That means that they pretty much can, one of the things they can invest in now, banks can invest in very little stuff, treasury bonds and things of that sort. That's what they can put it in now. They're telling them now they can put their money in gold, which is a total different asset, because all that money they were forced to put it in treasury bills. Well, treasury bills paid literally nothing in assets. And if just this last time, I can talk about a particular bank in the Acadiana area that nearly put themselves under because they put their money in treasury bills, 5-year treasury bills, which is not long-term. All of a sudden, the interest rates went up 3%, and the value of what they had on the books went down 30%.
Oh, wow. And so if I'm hearing this right, the fact that banks can now hold this, and now you are seeing a lot of states like Texas in the last couple of weeks actually signed into law that precious metals, gold and silver, can be utilized as daily tender. Are we going to go back to a gold standard? I mean, is that where we are?
We're going to have to get to some kind of standard, because if there's no standard, we're going to continue to see the evaporation of our money.
You know what standard we have to get back to? You just got the finger. We just got the 1 minute finger. Yeah, the 1 minute finger from Walker.
I usually get that once a day, but not often from Walker.
We are going to come back. Hour 2 of Implicit Bias Radio, always more fun. If you're in a market where you only get hour 1, call your radio station. Tell them, I want more Implicit Bias Radio. Get us hour 2. If you want to find hour 2, find any segment of any episode, find us anywhere you get podcast, YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook. It's all about more of your Implicit Bias Radio. The man in the box is breaking free in hour 2 of this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. We've got a great crew here in the Mr. Lester's top secret podcast lair for you, and we are going to remind you and dive back into very quickly our weekly whiskey, the 6-year rye, the Senator from New News Markets in Youngsville, Scott, Milton, Maurice. Let me introduce you to the crew very quickly before we do. Sitting there, probably texting his girlfriend. His wife will appreciate it because it's her. Jackie, that was Caleb texting you. That is the Rustic Renegade. Or should we call you like the Metro Renegade now?
No, I'll use debonair.
No.
This is a debonair outfit. Yes,
no,
it is.
No, that's like the Metro Renegade. You're no longer the Rustic Renegade. You're the Metro Renegade
not
now.
Metro.
That is so Metro. Dude,
Metro is like...
Are those sneakers?
These are...
Are those tennis shoes?
These are sneakers.
Oh, no, they're
canvas.
They're Drennis shoes. They're the dress shoes that are actually tennis shoes. But
We
they make it
argued
look
about
like dress
this
shoes.
because I wanted to wear dress shoes, and my wife's like, "This is what people wear now." And I'm like, "No, I have wingtips that would look great with this."
Yeah, no.
I don't know how to dress like this. This is advice.
Whatever. All right,
I tried.
Let's go to the bar. We've got the numismatist Louis Pizzolatto from Coin and Treasure in Lafayette. We've also got a very special guest. He is Joe Gary. He is the percussionist behind the scenes for Spank the Monkey. He's not behind the scenes, he's just behind the rest of the band because that's always where the drums are. He is the guy that keeps everything going for the band, and he is also here tasting our weekly whiskey with us, which you heard the ranking, you heard the rating, you heard the review from the crew here in hour 1. It's a blue, 3 blues, 2 greens, but Joe's a whiskey drinker too. So Joe, what did you think of this particular 6-year rye? I don't know that you're a huge rye drinker. I don't know you drink this high proof, 124.3.
I do, and I think it's a blue 100%. And instead of cola, like for me, it's more like a cherry cola.
Okay,
like a without a warm room temperature cherry. And then the licorice you're tasting on the end is more of like a star anise, like the
okay,
the
I get
spice.
that. Yeah,
like if you take the spice bottle and you smell it, that's what. And it does warm you up. It does not burn you at all, unless you just take a big sniff when you're drinking, which you should not do.
Agreed.
It will burn your nose, but it does warm your body up, and there is no after effect burn for me. I mean, I think.
Oh no, this goes down way too smooth.
It's dangerous. It would hurt me in a matter of no time.
I don't know that it would hurt you in a matter of no time, but it would definitely hurt you the next morning.
Oh, absolutely.
Because this is one that if you're not sipping it, if you're drinking it, it will obliterate you.
Wait, so you're saying I should slow down?
It will. Well, your tolerance is a little different from most. I mean, it will obliterate you like the end of Friends obliterated David Schwimmer's career, right? I mean, that's what this would do to you that fast.
The proof on this and everything else you get, this will come back to haunt you if you're not prepared for it.
And you can sip it and enjoy it all night.
I mean, it's just delicious.
It is fantastic. I absolutely love it. Louis, you really had a lot of time in the last segment as we were getting into that whole what's going on with silver and gold. I mean, I always remember the song whenever I hear silver and gold, it takes me to Christmas time, right? Everybody's going back to Frosty the Snowman, or is it Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, silver and gold, Burl Ives? He's the one that sings
I think it was Frosty.
I think it was Frosty.
it's Frosty.
I'm pretty sure it was Frosty. But
I see Walker mouthing it over there. He sang the whole thing.
So here's where I want to go with this segment, because we were talking about more fake, less real, and us wanting more real, less fake.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a world where data, information, I hate to say it, we don't really know what's real and what's fake 99% of the time. You know, we were allegedly on the doorstep of World War III, and we allegedly went into Iran. We allegedly had missiles being fired from one country to another. Everybody was, chucking missiles over borders here and there. And the reality is, with the quality of video today, sure, we think we saw video from this happening, but AI is so good, we'd never know the difference if it was a completely AI war.
The hard part is you don't realize what you're being sold, and most of the time, you are the commodity. So when we look at, be it AI or data or anything else, sometimes that I'll use the term lower price, costs you more than you realize, because the information that you're giving up from yourself is what they want to have, and they'll sell yourself back to yourself for a profit.
Look, we are on all these social media platforms. I'll be the first to tell you we're there because we have to be. But the reality is what you see from us, this is who we are. We're as genuine as we can be. We don't change. But if you think about access to these platforms, Instagram, free. Facebook, free. X, free. YouTube, free. TikTok, free. They're all free. They can't create these services
without something to sell.
Correct. And if you're not paying to be on the service and to use the service, you're the product.
Mm-hmm.
We recognize this. And here's the really crazy part. Stanford did a study. 35,000 people were paid to quit all social media.
Oh, gosh. That sounds amazing.
Did anybody read the results of this?
No.
It is insane. I know Chris did, and Chris is not sitting at the bar right now. Chris can come in and chime in on this in the next segment. The results of this tell you just not that we are only being poisoned through our food supply, we are being poisoned through our feeds.
Well,
everything that feeds us is poisoning us. They basically said it is the equivalent of someone going to therapy because the ability for people to say how happy they are once they quit these platforms and go away from them, it's night and day.
The God you worship, this becomes the God we worship. We sit here, we read the 10 Commandments, we understand them, but yet this is what we go to. And there are so many other business owners that I talk to that the only reason we're on this is because our business requires it.
Yep.
Because if you don't have a good social media presence, marketing and advertising almost goes away. What do you mean marketing and advertising? Well, marketing and advertising ourselves to you, not just a product, but who we are.
Absolutely, 100%. It's like it's if you're not on social media, then you don't exist anymore. You have zero customers. But from what it herds us into a direction that we don't always want to go, but we feel like we have to because of the herd mentality of everything that's happening. Social media, like I'm involved with a lot of young people, is absolutely destroying their youth. It's 100% I believe that they don't have, unless we figure this out, we're gonna have bigger problems than we even know. It's just, and it's not just, you can't point at any one platform. All the young people that I'm around, 75% of them claim to be depressed and are medicated, which equals another problem, and it's like
this is the depression,
problem.
Right? And I'm holding up, for those that can't see on radio, I'm holding up my cell phone. This is the depression. This is the problem. This is what forces us, and this goes back to the topic of the show, Joe, which is when we talk about music is very rarely a singular individual event. Music is a communal event. So when you think about music in the Bible, when they say we should sing, we shouldn't just sing in front of ourselves. We should sing with other people because it becomes a communal prayer at that
together,
point, right? It's togetherness.
Absolutely.
When we sang us growing up as kids, and we went to shows. When I went to go see Run DMC and the Beastie Boys, when I was in 7th grade in New Orleans in the Together Forever tour, and we had to interact with people that we didn't know we would ever interact with in our lives, and then did the same thing through country music and through hair metal and through grunge and all this. It brings you together in a way with other people that forces us to connect. These devices send you into your own soulless asylum where you are put into a spiritual and mental straitjacket that is confined by whatever's in your damn phone.
I mean, you think about how many people have phantom, what are the notifications? Oh, my phone vibrates,
Yeah.
this, that. And it's become a physiological side effect of something that we have mentally because we've become addicted to this little computer in our box that tells us what we need to think, feel, eat, everything else. Down to the shape, color, size of the red on the bubble for how many emails you have. That's been designed to cause you anxiety.
Yeah.
If you don't believe me, do your research on that.
Oh, yeah. I'm curious, Lewis, how do you deal with this? Because I know you don't know how to work a computer or a cell phone. So
That's why I stay happy most of the time.
you know what? I believe it.
There's been many, many people that I hold this thing up and I said, look, I got one like virtually everybody else. But if there is an antichrist on earth, it's this that I'm holding. I just feel that. The information it feeds you, the information you get out of it, the addiction that it causes.
And I want to clarify. You said Antichrist on earth. That's it. I thought you said Antichrist. I was like, oh no, and then it made sense. Yeah.
This is the Antichrist that I think if it is here now, this is it.
I don't disagree with you.
It's terrible, and kids are starting younger and younger with them. Parents feel the need to, okay, she's 8. I need to get her one because all her friends have them, and it eats upon itself. It's terrible. It really is.
And there's stories of how bad AI is going to make this. Because when AI realizes that you are going to quit it, it will take everything it knows, can find about you, every bit of data that's out there about who you are, and it will leverage that to manipulate you in order to keep going, in order to keep itself afloat. Again, don't believe us on this. Please do your research. Go out, look this stuff up. It's all out there. Joe?
There are young families, though, that are realizing this and are now coming together in groups so they have a support system to where we're not going to allow our kids to have phones until X amount of age. And it's gaining popularity. So I do have hope that we're realizing. Like if you've never seen the documentary, The Social Dilemma, you should watch it. The guy who invented the like button said, I had no idea, that this was, and he's like, the person saying, don't give a cell phone to your child.
Yeah, he won't give it to his kids.
And they're saying, go outside, look at the sun, look at the trees, and run around. We don't go outside enough. Like, we need the sun to live. I have a sailboat. I go out there and recharge. I try to turn my phone off, and I tell my wife, the only one I say, hey, no phone, going out. I love to offshore fish. Why? Because I just claim, my cell phone does work offshore, but I say it doesn't. Because all those platforms have cell towers. But I go, my phone's not going to work. I'm going fishing, so I'll be gone for 2 days. Whatever happens. But when you get back, you feel wonderful. Like you feel like, oh, wow,
And here's the really interesting part to me, because this is what ties all of this together, because you've got AI involved here. You've got all the data points that they are collecting, making you the product. You've got the fake of what is being fed to us. Why do they call it a feed, a social media feed? Because it's feeding you, right? You've got this all tied together, and then you've got like the AI part of this where you start to jump into this and you go, man, no one is anonymous anymore. When we were kids and you had that communal, that music, those venues, you'd go and you'd be like, you know what? I made a mistake. I made a bad decision. And it wasn't the end of your life. Now, I can't tell you how bad I feel for these younger generations where you do one thing on social media, you do one horrible, stupid thing.
It's life-changing.
Well, you think about, there's a bar here locally, right? Like, I have a friend who roped someone from horseback in the parking lot years ago. And we probably all heard the story because it's happened more than once. But now, if you do that today, there's no way you're getting away with it, and your life is ruined.
Oh, dear Lord.
Well, it's ruined rock and roll because we used to see boobs up in the front all the time.
We told you, hour 2 is always more fun on Implicit Bias Radio. But yeah, again, bad decision, not the end of the world. And that's the thing. It's not the end of the world. It's not life-defining. And look, Tony Robichaux used to say this, make your mess your message, right? That little mess was a learning opportunity, instead of that mess being a switch on the guillotine of societal judgment, which is the problem.
But even think back when you first got your driver's license, how free did you feel, an adult did you feel? And you went out, and if you screwed up, you had to figure it out. You had to get yourself out the mess before your dad. Now, if you park too long, your parents going to call you because 360 alarms them. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing because, knowing where your kids are is a good thing. But at the same time, getting in a little bit of trouble and then getting out of it and figuring out how to survive, how to fix the flat. My car broke down. There's no phone to call. I got to figure this thing out. I've had a 20-something-year-old employee. He was standing in the parking lot and looking at a flat tire in his car. I said, what are you doing? He goes, I'm waiting for AAA to come change the tire. I almost flipped my lid. I said, nope, we're changing it right now. I'm helping you.
And here's the worst part, kind of what we were talking about earlier. It gets younger and younger and younger and younger. So instead of making mistakes that are age appropriate, we're feeding this to kids, and the mistakes that are being made are not appropriate for the age that they are. They're making mistakes that a 30 or 40-year-old maybe should be making at the age of 11, 12, 10, right? It's happening all over the planet every single day. So yeah, there are programs out there. They're called like Wait Till 8, which I know a couple of schools here in the Lafayette, Louisiana area, they have a sign-up sheet where the parents get together and say, we are going to wait till 8th grade to give a device to our students, right? To our children. There are programs out there, but at the end of the day, I just look back at this study that Stanford did, 35,000 people to quit social media.
I just read it too.
How happy we can be without Big Brother looking over our shoulder. And look, it's funny because there was actually a clip from Rogan, shout out Joe Rogan, where companies are doing this to their employees. And he said, I don't get it. We've got an employee who does their assigned workload, what is designed to be 40 hours, they do it in like 25. And because they're not sitting in front of their computer for the extra 15 hours a week, they're a bad employee. And that's the problem, is that we are human and we weaponize everything.
Man, if you give me goals and if I can reach them in half the time, I have to work 50% less, I'm knocking that out. Like that would be my purpose right
As a
there.
business owner, I would say knock yourself out. If you could do it in 5 minutes, do it.
No,
Yeah,
you know what the
I would
problem
much
is?
rather people be more productive.
The problem is business today looks at it and goes, oh, you got 15 hours that you should be doing something with because we're technically paying you for it. We're not paying you for the job anymore. We are reducing your life to the second and what that second dollar value has. And when companies do that, they have become evil.
Look, the guys at my shop, if you ever feel like I'm doing that to you, let me know, take me outside. We'll call it the woodshed and set me square because look, I want productivity and you can, if you are productive and you do things right, you deserve time off. You deserve a break because no one wants to be under the thumb.
No one.
That's what's great about being a musician. I'm paid for an hour to pound on the drums. You're going to get an hour of me pounding on the drums.
There you
Period.
go.
There's no like finishing early or, well, you'll finish early if somebody in the band passes out. But
So when you said that, like I imagined you with hair like Animal.
yep,
Like
I
just
did.
banging.
Yep.
Okay, so, are you saying that somebody's going to pass out at Implicit birthday on July 12th?
There's a good chance of that.
Oh, that sounds like fun. So I have been warned. What I'd love to do is, you guys typically play almost after the event, which means that bringing you guys into the event first is probably not a good idea.
I can't drink and drum, that's for sure.
Well, there you go.
I
So,
physically cannot do it.
we'll
But
do-
everybody else in the band performs better with moderation.
We will do our best to make sure we save you guys some. We're definitely saving some for you if you want to raise money for charity here in the Lafayette area. Come on in, Implicit Birthday. Go to our website, implicitbiasradio.com. First button, middle of the screen, will take you to buy tickets. Enjoy. We're having a lot more fun on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio in Hour 2. Don't miss the rest of it. Hour 2 of Implicit Bias Radio keeps going with more weekly whiskey from New News. And, let me tell you, we got a great show going for you here as we've got special guest Joe Gary from Spank the Monkey, who will play at Implicit Birthday on July 12th at Rockin' Bowl. Get your tickets either at the Rockin' Bowl website or go to implicitbiasradio.com, click the link, and you will go right to buy tickets. We've also got here in the TSPL, the Rustic Renegade, Caleb Morse. I don't know what you're wearing. Anyway,
Peck pops of love at you over here. The Rock taught me that.
you in the Schmedium shirt. Yeah. If you want to see what it looks
It's an
like,
extra large.
if you want to see what Caleb's Schmedium shirt looks like, just go to any of our socials, Instagram, X, YouTube, Facebook. We'll be there. You can get the full podcast download on YouTube. Please subscribe, punch
do.
like,
Please
follow. It helps the show. And then, of course, also at the bar, the Consigliere. We've heard a lot from Louis Pizzolatto on this show as well, but the Consigliere, Chris Castro, is here. And this one, okay, so first of all, we got to close out the last topic. So, Chris, I know you read the story about the 35,000 people who were signed off of social media. Anything you want to add there to close out that topic, just because it was such an interesting study about the benefits of just walking away?
I really don't have anything else to add to it because it is so freeing to not have to worry about that thing in your pocket that is constantly looking at you, looking over your shoulder.
Hey, we're talking about social media here.
Well,
not what is the problem for most guys on the planet. Anyway,
that's true. Well, and that is,
and that also drives social media, all of that.
That leads to the downfall and
It does.
the problems of family and family life and the
It takes
unification
a
of a
foothold.
marriage. Yeah,
Yep,
absolutely.
it absolutely does.
And so it makes clear and sense that you put that away and you get rid of it, your life will become simpler. And I think that the relationships between people will become simpler. Within families, it becomes simpler, and simple is good.
And you know where else they become simpler? They become simpler legally. Because let's talk about where that leads, right? The studies have been done. The computer that everybody carries around, perhaps the untold disease that is rotting society today is just how prolific pornography is, what it's done to people through phones, through computers, the whole 9 yards, right? It's just not good. Because what they find, and the studies are out there, again, please don't believe this, is that very rarely does it go to a point and stop. It usually goes to a point and gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Potential case in point. And I want to pull this up because I want to make sure we get this story right. Award-winning Washington Post journalist and Pulitzer Prize recipient Thomas Pham Legros, arrested for possession of child pornography. What I want you to think about, and what I want our listeners and our viewers to think about, how bad is it that the people who are in charge of some of the largest media outlets in this country have this issue? And it's not harmless. It's victims. There are victims here, and the victims are children. And that to me is maybe the grossest of them all.
Well, it's a massive sin problem because, Christ told us if we can come to him like a child, with the faith of a child, right? And these people are injuring and hurting. They're hurting the most innocent of those that exist. And they're destroying and taking their innocence and scarring them for life. And when we look at, I don't know where he started at, right? I don't know if he started with dipping his toes in pornography or anything else. And pornography is the most addictive drug that exists to mankind. Yep. And men out there, if you can free yourself from pornography, you will free yourself from almost every sin out there. It is addictive. Once it grabs a hold of your heart, it will yank you down. Trust me, free yourself from that burden.
And look, this is not us jumping on a pedestal and preaching.
No,
everybody has been involved in this because it is so prolific. There is no getting away from it.
I mean, you look at any social media feed, and what do they try to do? They try to show you, well, this one in a bikini or this one in this. Whatever intrigues you, it exists on a reel or a video or this or that, and they want to draw you back into it and take you down to the depths of depravity.
And the data finds it and wants to exploit it. Joe?
So I had a friend tell me that the problem with internet porn is it's so easy to get it that what gets you excited gets crazier and crazier and more rough and whatever. And then it just gets to where it's disturbing. Things that a normal relationship would never sustain with your wife or whatever. It could cause problems with your relationships because then you start thinking these things are normal or whatever. And if they're going after child porn, whatever they're doing, you have to stop and go, man, the more you see, the more desensitized you get of what's happening. And then you just start getting more used to it, going down a tunnel.
It's conditioning.
Never ends.
But to that point, here's kind of where this conversation can go, because it never ends. We have heard a lot of people say, and actually there have been several large busts by the FBI where people have been, we're talking hundreds of people across multiple states in networks. Now, this is the one thing about this story that bothers me. We're going to say that he was arrested for. We're not convicting this guy because typically, and I know this and remember this from my news days, when someone who's involved in this is busted, it's not between January of 22 to February of 23. It's not a short-term thing. It is hundreds of thousands of files that have been saved. I mean, it is prolific. This one is a little out of the box, and I really hope that they continue to cover the story so we can see where this goes, because it just seems like there's something a little off with this outside of the fact of what this guy was busted for.
Well, when you look at, so I'm reading from the Washington Post right now. He joined their team in 2013 as an editor on a breaking news desk. And in 2015, he was the senior producer overseeing international style and technology teams. And in 2017, he was the team that the Post reporters were awarded the Pulitzer Prize. So this could go back a long time. And what you have to look at is some of the videos he probably saw, non-sexual, involve certain things. And it may have desensitized him and brought him into a certain level. and the things that you see and become intrigued by at that point in time, I am frightened to know what they found currently on a computer.
Well, I'd be curious to know as well. And here's to your point, Caleb. I've never served. I've never been in a combat situation. As a former news reporter, I've seen multiple homicide and fatality events. Just seeing it changes you. Just physically being there within minutes of someone being shot in the head and murdered in downtown New Orleans, where their body is still present, where there's still an active crime scene, and knowing that that person was alive minutes or seconds ago, it changes you. This does the same thing. And as it changes you, there's not always change for the good. And that's the hard part.
You know, we're all product of the environment. And sometimes we welcome the environment, sometimes we don't. You know, there is abuse and other things that happen, and we can try to remedy ourselves from that. But what we allow in via this small, 3-inch by 5-inch box, changes who you are on a mental, spiritual, physiological level. And what we see and what we worship becomes us.
Mm-hmm. It absolutely does. So I say all this, and I bring up this story for this reason. But for the grace of God go a lot of people with regards to stuff like this, right? Because if it does draw you in, some people do not have the ability to say no. And just because you can't say no doesn't mean you're innocent, right? But people like this hang out together. People like this protect each other. People like this form networks. And those networks are way more dangerous than the one person themselves. And that becomes a massive part of the problem. I mean, we're going to talk about this in Walker, stop giving me the finger. We're going to talk about this in a minute because I know you're guilty. I'm kidding, you're not. But the reality is, we're going to talk about this as we get to the Diddy conversation.
You know, you
Right?
are who you associate with, you know?
And Diddy got acquitted of a lot of stuff today, and you're like, what the heck? What is that all about? We'll talk about stuff like that in bonus content. We've got more stories coming your way. We'll touch on this just a little bit more when we come back as we continue hour 2, the penultimate segment of Implicit Bias Radio, right after this. The hits just keep rolling here on Implicit Bias Radio in hour 2, the penultimate segment. That means it is the second to last segment of this week's show. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. Cheers for joining us as, man, we have absolutely loved this new news pick of the Senator 6-year rye out of Proof and Wood, an absolute blue. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Fantastic. You might even say it's the best. It's the best in the history of whiskey ever made. It is that good.
That
right?
was a fair impersonation.
It's bad, but it's okay. It's cadence, the tone, the voice, whatever. That's Caleb Morse, the Metro Renegade. At the bar, we have Chris Castro, the consigliere. I had to check because we got twins in the TSPL tonight. Right. And Joe Gary from Spank the Monkey. All right, this story floored me. Absolutely floored me. 324 people arrested. $14.6 billion in fraud through healthcare scams in the United States. The FBI picked them up. Good work to the FBI that they're actually going after real criminals here, because, man, that's a big deal, right? So much so. Anybody want to take a wild guess? If you just split the money evenly among 324 people, how much each person got on average?
Really couldn't even take a guess.
$46 million in change.
Well, I mean, at least now we know the price, right? We know what their price was.
Look, I've always said this, not that I'm that guy, but I've always said if I'm gonna steal money and I go to jail, I'm gonna make it worth it. $46 million. I mean, they'd have a hard time finding me, which is why I'm not a criminal, because I just, number one, couldn't do it. Number two, if I did, I'd have gotten to like 25 million and been like, all right, there's a beach somewhere in a non-extraditable country that has my name on it. And these people got picked up internationally.
I'm out. But this was a healthcare scam that essentially
Okay,
and
so
fill us in a little bit, because I have to tell you, I did not research this story that deeply.
So I actually went back and watched the whole press conference, and the press conference was frightening.
So the Department of Justice is involved.
Department of Justice makes the arrest. FBI does the investigation. International criminal syndicates down to local doctors.
And wasn't it part of like COVID vaccines and other stuff as well?
The big one that they talked about, I want you to listen to just how evil these doctors were. Now, these are doctors working in American hospitals who would take terminal patients and on their deathbed would file and do skin grafts for people who were dying in order to rack up fraudulent medical bills. And that's the allegation. We're not naming names, so they're not convicted yet, right? They are innocent until proven guilty. The federal government wins about 98% of its cases or more, right? But the whole point here is, how evil do you have to be for an extra dollar to take someone on their deathbed and perform unnecessary medical procedures on them?
Well, look, let's make it easier to swallow, because I think we all can agree that would be evil. But for the listeners out there, greedy.
Oh, it's greed, no doubt.
Absolute.
No doubt it's greed. The scale and scope of this is the other thing. Joe, you were going to chime in there real quick.
It's not shocking to me. I mean, money drives people to do, and you never have enough, right? Like 40 million. Me, my target's 3 million, and I'm gone. I mean, I make 3 million, I'm out. You know, it's like it's like there ain't no. But it's the greed of it in getting away with it.
So this is where, and this to me is the big nugget here, right? So when we talk about music, and Joe, you listen to the show, Chris, you've been on the show, we've talked about all the bands in the 60s that had intelligence ties in the CIA, military intelligence. I mean, Jim Morrison shows up as a fully blossomed rock star. His dad is naval intelligence. And then all of a sudden he dies an early death. And you're like, the guy couldn't play music. He couldn't read music. He had nothing other than a bunch of lyrics and supposedly spit it out of his head, right? You're like, okay, maybe it's a little manufactured. Yeah, sure. And people always say with things like that, oh, you conspiracy theorists, you can't get that many people to hide this. It'd be too many people.
346, 14 million.
324 people. $14 billion. That is half of the freaking NFL in revenue. And you're telling me the only way that they found out this conspiracy was that the FBI happened to break it open? How long's it been going on to graft $14 billion? It's been going on a while.
I was going to say, it can't be. It didn't just occur. So this had to have happened over a period of time.
Yeah.
So how it came to light, I'm interested to know as well.
I would love to know that. Now, they did not tell it. They did not say how it came about.
324 people.
Yep.
One person's going to tell somebody, right? Because human beings have this wonderful gift of gab, and we all want to share about how we got something over on somebody. So, somebody I'm sure said, I made my first million.
Right.
Well, I just did this, and let me try to help you, because that's what we want to do, and we want to brag about it, how we didn't get caught.
How does the IRS not red flag this right away with money? I claim a drum set twice on accident, and I get audited, and we're talking $4,000, and it's like, and I got audited, and it's like, how can money like that move without the IRS going, hey, where's this money coming from?
Well, it makes you wonder who else was involved, because they got 324. Did they get everybody? And I don't mean like everybody. I mean like ERRYBIDY, everybody, right?
Absolutely.
The odds are they didn't get all of them. Probability says they got most, but the ones who are probably the most guilty, the ones who are the masterminds of this situation, they got away scot-free.
Well, I think either they got the masterminds and they got popped, and the underlings, which would be the staff, would be the ones who ratted them out.
Here's why I don't think they got the masterminds first and the underlings. So first of all, Chris, you tell us here, Consigliere, most RICO cases start at the bottom and work their way up. They find somebody for something and they tell them, look, you give us something and now you build a racketeering influence, corrupt organization case against them as it goes up and up and up. The other part of this is a multinational case. They got people from Russia. They got people from massive criminal organizations in other countries. I mean, this was global.
Yeah,
it was global off of the U.S. taxpayer.
You're not taking down the big dogs. You're taking on the ones that are expendable.
Which means that to me, it's not like they started finding this person internationally and got them. they probably found somebody local and it led to the international. To me, that's just more likely.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is that they found somebody in the lower level who altered a code, who put in a diagnosis code that didn't fit the circumstance, and somebody in DOJ or maybe within Medicare or within insurance, but somebody said this doesn't make sense. Let's look into this a little more, and started.
Now the dominoes
going
start
down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You mean like in Office Space, whenever they were supposed to take a penny, but they took.
Right. But somebody fell early, and okay, you won't have to fall on the cross or fall on the sword, because I'll let you, I'll give you immunity, but you tell me what happened. Who are you dealing with? And then we're just gonna keep sniffing down the trail.
We are gonna talk all things Diddy in bonus content. We've got some real fun bonus content stories this week, but we have one more segment of Implicit Bias Radio left before we go to the end of this week. So make sure you stick around. Make sure that you find us on our socials: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, X. Follow us, like us, share us, because it's all about your implicit bias and aliens when we come back. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. Welcome back into the Mr. Lester's top secret podcast layer. By the way, go down to Mr. Lester's. I'm telling you, the whiskey specials down there, you don't want to miss. He's done $5 pours. He's done $15 Sinatra old fashions. I mean, you name it, they do it. The only 5-star restaurant between New Orleans and Houston. You don't want to miss it.
It's worth a trip. Look, I went. God, I'm sorry, Willie. I cheated on Mr. Lester's and I went to another casino. And
that was in Vegas, though. It's not like it was
No,
here.
I went to one in Louisiana, North Louisiana.
That explains why you're dressed like Justin Bieber 2.2.
It was 2.2. This would be like Justin Bieber 0.5. And I had these high hopes because I've been spoiled, and I was let down. I'm remiss.
Now you know how your wife feels. Anyway.
Oh, damn.
I'm sorry. Had to.
That was well said. Well,
That was
a nice jab.
That is the Metro Renegade at the bar. We've got the twins back, Louis Pizzolatto and the consigliere, Chris Castro. We've been joined this week by Joe Gary, drummer for Spank the Monkey. It's been great having him here. It's been tons of fun as we get ready for Implicit Birthday, July 12th, benefiting AVA and Catholic Charities of Acadiana, St. Michael's Homeless Shelter for Veterans, and Evangeline Council Scouting. So before we go, if you want to buy tickets, implicitbiasradio.com. We are expecting over 18 distilleries, maybe over 20 distilleries. We're talking over 50 different whiskeys. We've got a VIP option. It's got some ridiculous offerings behind the bar. If you want to come, you want to have a good time, catch some great music from Effigy and Spank the Monkey afterwards, come to Implicit Birthday, Saturday, July 12th. No excuses, is Saturday night. Okay, so we have to get to this last story because we enjoy talking esoteric on this show. We enjoy pondering questions of the universe on this show, which means I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. The Post hit X on June 29th, 2025. It is a clip of Donald Trump on Fox News, and he is asked, are aliens real? And he actually says, number one, that's the question he gets more than any other question. Number two, the people that he interviews are serious people. Right? I mean, it takes you back to The Godfather where, Don Corleone looks at Sollozzo and says, I'm meeting with you because some people tell me you're a very serious person.
Right.
Right? These are serious people. These are not The View. Right? These are not MSDNC. These are people whose lives are on the line every single time they go to work. And his words were, I talked to them, and what they have told me is we have seen things that we cannot explain. And these are people flying F-22s and F-35s. They are flying the latest technology, which makes me wonder, as we talk about real and fake and how music impacts generations and how the fake has kind of taken over, is the real being hidden from us by fake that just appears normal?
I mean, the lie is easier to swallow than the truth. And I think as a Christian, you believe in something outside of this dimension. So then in the same breath, you believe in what we would call aliens.
Yeah,
be it angels, demons.
by definition.
Yeah, some interdimensional thing or a burning bush, something that we can't describe or explain in our current vocabulary or vernacular. So, do I believe in aliens? 100%. Do I think that they're little gray men with a glowing finger? Not necessarily.
E.T. go home.
But I firmly believe that things
Come on, that
happen
was funny.
outside of our understanding. When we have, Aztec drawings of helicopters, we have pyramids with foundations that go down for hundreds of feet that we can't scramble, that we can't build today.
We have Egyptian drawings that, when done in 3D and actually reproduced, create lift.
We have the Epic of Gilgamesh that talks about certain things that now, hold on, there might be like scientific proof that these things happened or historical proof that happened.
If Hillary Clinton believes it, you should too. Check her emails, by the way. I'm just saying.
Valid point. Good throwback too, by the way.
Well,
Great throwback.
every now and then the synapses actually fire.
So the truth is scary. And what fraction of a percent that I understand of the truth is scary enough. If I understood 10% of it, I would probably have nightmares every night of the week.
So what do we think at the bar? I'm curious. Lewis, you deal in the most real thing that anybody here on Implicit Bias deals in. You deal gold, silver, real. Not intrinsic value,
Gold and silver are real.
not
I also
made up value.
believe that outside forces are among us. I believe that they are the quote unquote UFO. And one of the reasons is, as a believer, I take a different turn and I get a cockeyed look at myself a lot of times when I say it. And you know, my mouth, I will say what I feel like saying.
No, you?
I think that we were created by a creator.
Agreed.
And I think we know for a fact there's all kinds of beings out there, meaning
Other creations.
planets, suns, all over. Around it is multiple things. And I believe that God, if he's going to create us, I don't think he was that bored just to make us. I think that there's multiple Earth-like systems out there. That's what I think. And I think some are much more advanced than us. And I think they're coming over this way faster than we're going to get that way.
So here's the question. Do you think we were the first? Do you think we were the last? Or do you think we're somewhere in the middle?
Hold on. The Bible doesn't tell us we were the first, so we know we weren't the first. And the Bible tells us, in the beginning, God created. He created things before he created us.
He created heavens and earth.
Yep. Heavens.
And earth.
Yep. Which is an interesting conversation. Castro, you wanted to chime in. I saw you leaning into the microphone. Consigliere, bring us back down to earth.
He's like, I have a license to worry about.
That was a good pun.
Yeah, I really don't know what to say in this regard.
That is the first time I have ever rendered a lawyer speechless. That's all I'm
you're
saying.
gonna find me speechless on this issue because while I don't know, I cannot deny what these pilots and these individuals have said, and I'm sure they're of the utmost integrity. I just I find it hard to fathom in my own mind, and that's just me. I'm a simple person, so because when the science allows us to see that there are billions of galaxies and there's light years of things that are out there, and so
the science lets us think or guess that there are. Who's been there?
Well,
nobody.
Nobody's been there, but I do believe that
we've got indicators. We've got probability, high probability,
and those things. And so I'm willing to rely on that probability. And it would seem to me, just in my own small little.
Yeah, that's fine. We're not making fun of you.
No, I understand it is that I just haven't seen it that so. Whether a pilot says this is something I believe I saw or I did see, I
leave that up to them.
I'm kind of at a loss.
Chris, what I think is beautiful about what you said is you said in my own, right? And we are defined by the parameters that we can use to describe and explain things, right? Not everyone knows what they don't know. What I like is that you admitted that you were limited by your own knowledge.
Which is what we are all limited by when we are limited by Walker and the finger, the 1 minute finger in the final segment of this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. But And that is a huge Sir Mix-a-Lot butt that I am referencing. Oh my God, Becky, look at. Anyway, you can catch more of this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio because there's bonus content everywhere we broadcast the podcast on audio. You can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify. You can go to Buzzsprout. You can support the show and you can get the bonus content. Where this week we are going to talk about all kinds of fun stuff, including Jaguar cars, the Diddy trial, and so much more. Don't miss Implicit Bias Radio. Don't miss Implicit Birthday on Saturday, July 12th at Rock and Bowl. We will see you in 7. Cheers from your Implicit Bias.